Hello, my name is Ben Canellis, the creator of PACS, the Pocket Adventures card system, and I'm here to do a quick demo on how the system works if you are interested in the system or wondering how to play it. So the game breaks the cards down to four main types. We have heroes, which are characters that players get to play. We have foes, which are monsters and creatures that the game master can threaten those heroes with. And finally we have loot, which is treasure that the heroes earn along the way. A hero card contains everything your player needs to play. It has the name of the character, or the class of the character, a brief description, their aptitude scores, and all of their combat abilities all on one card. Your aptitude scores break down to 6 main areas. Your might, which is your feats of strength, such as running and climbing and breaking things. Agility would be feats of, well, being agile, such as sneaking around or balancing in tricky situations. And magic is any type of magical spell or ability or effect that you want to create. If you can think it, you can try it. Your character also has awareness, which is things such as discerning lies, spotting traps, or anyone trying to sneak up on you. Your character has influence score, which is any social ability, such as if you're trying to intimidate someone, if you're trying to lie to someone, if you're trying to be diplomatic with someone. That would always be influence. And finally, your character's knowledge is how much your character knows about the world around them. So whenever you want to know what your character would know, you can make a knowledge check. These 6 aptitude scores will have a number between 0 and 3. The higher the number, the better your character is at that. Whenever you're making a check, you will flip 3 coins and count the number of heads and add that to the relevant aptitude score. So you will end up with a number between 0 and 6 there. Let's say this cleric was trying to break down a door, a wooden door, and the Dungeon Master says that would be a might check of 3. The cleric would flip 3 coins, add the number of heads to his might score, and if he has a 3 or higher, he would be successful with that. However, if the wooden door was reinforced somehow, the dungeon or made out of iron, the Dungeon Master might say that would be a might check of 5 to break that down, and the cleric would have to flip at least 3 heads with those 3 coins. He'd have to be perfect in order to break down that iron door. Whenever any character flips 3 heads, that is a critical, and whatever they were attempting they are successful at automatically, within reason. And whenever any character flips 3 tails, that is a fumble, and they have failed at what they were attempting to do. You can also make checks against another character. So let's say this cleric was trying to intimidate this goblin into throwing down his weapon. The cleric would flip 3 coins and add it to his influence score of 2, and the game master would flip 3 coins for the goblin and add the 1 to the goblin's score. If the cleric beats the goblin's score, the goblin would be intimidated and throw down his weapons. If not, then the cleric was unsuccessful, and the goblin would not be intimidated in throwing down his weapons. Combat works similarly as a set of opposed checks. During a combat round, every character will get 1 on-turn action, which they can use on their turn, and 1 off-turn action, which they get to use during the combat round. On-turn actions at the bottom of a character sheet or a character's card are generally more powerful attacks than a basic attack, which you can always make using any 3 of your ability scores. Turn order is determined by your agility, which is how quickly your character is going to react. So foes always go first. Foes of agility 3 would act first, then heroes of agility 3, then foes of 2, then heroes of 2, and etc., until we get to 0 and 0 and everyone has gone. At which point the combat round is over. If you haven't used your if you have used your off-turn action, you would get another one as you enter into the next combat round. If 2 heroes are tied, let the players determine which one of them wants to go first. If 2 foes are tied, the game master will determine who goes first. Let's talk about making an attack. this cleric would look at this goblin and see that he is stronger because he has a might of 2 than the goblin who has a might of 1, and might decide, I want to attack this goblin with my mace on my turn. So the cleric would say, I approach the goblin and try to bash his head in with my mace. The cleric would flip 3 coins and add that to his might score, and the goblin would flip 3 coins by the game master and add that to his might score. If the cleric beats the goblin's score, the goblin would be damaged and turn his card 45 degrees to show that he was damaged. Characters have 2 hit points. An upright character is undamaged, a character that has been turned 45 degrees is damaged, a character that is sideways has been defeated. A defeated character does not take any on-turn or off-turn actions. So, after the cleric resolves his attack, whether or not he damaged or did not damage the goblin gets to counter. So the goblin would see that he and the cleric are evenly matched in agility, and so the game master might say, my goblin draws a dagger from his sheath and flings it at the cleric, at which point the goblin and the cleric would flip 3 coins. If the goblin beats the cleric's result, the cleric would be damaged and turn his card 45 degrees to show that. If the goblin does not beat the cleric's result, the cleric would remain undamaged. The ties always go to favor the character who would be damaged. So if the cleric and the goblin tie when the cleric is attacking the goblin would remain uninjured. And when the goblin is countering the cleric, if the goblin and the cleric tie, the cleric would remain uninjured. A defeated character, let's say the cleric was attacking an injured goblin and was successful and the goblin was defeated, a defeated character does not get to counter. Defeated characters do, however, on their turn get to make something called a recovery flip. They flip 3 coins. If all 3 coins are heads, the goblin shrugs off his injuries, crawls back up to being injured, and gets to take his turn as normal. The number on a foe, this is a goblin, he's a weaker foe, helps the Dungeon Master build his combats. Generally, the number of heroes is the number that you're looking to add these values up to. So if there was 5 heroes, 5 goblins would be a fair fight for those heroes. However, you can add more or less as you see fit. And if you need additional goblins, you play 1 goblin, and then you can double up the goblins with additional foe cards next to them to represent multiples of that goblin, and you track all of their health separately. Combat will end once all of the heroes or all of the foes are defeated, at which point that side can claim victory. The other types of cards that we have are loot, which is treasure. Each loot has a value. The higher the value, the more it's worth, and a type. The type matters that your character can't utilize more than one item of the same type. So if you have 2 different types of weapons, magic weapons, you would have to determine which weapon you are using. You can't wear more than 1 type of armor. And the higher the value, the more powerful that loot card is. The lairs that are in set 1 are used for Dungeon Masters. If they want to, they shuffle the lairs together, they draw the card, they draw the number of foes and modify the foes as necessary and run the combat. So it's like a dungeon crawl. And there are hero cards, such as this cleric might want to become a combat medic. So whenever the game master determines that the heroes have done enough to level up, the game master would let them choose, first they would choose a specialization. The cleric has a number of options available to him, as well as do all the other heroes, and they would choose 1 power from that list. So that is the majority of PACS in a nutshell. I hope you understand more about the system and are excited about it, and look forward to playing. If you have any other questions, please contact me.